Stage 2 of the Overwatch League is kicking off with a whole new meta and a new set of maps. But which teams are going to rise and fall with the death of the Mercy meta, and what do all the player trades and signings mean for the teams in the league? Let's break everything down and get you prepared for Stage 2.
What did we do to deserve such incredible Overwatch?
I think the best way to do this is to cover one team at a time, so let's start with the Dallas Fuel.
Miserable, in effect, a later Transcendence is going to be a better Transcendence, but effect! There we go, buddy, there we go.
Dallas is probably the most disappointing team in the league. Power rankings placed them amongst the top 3 teams before the preseason, but now they sit in 10th place. However, the Fuel's luck might be about to change.
And soon backcaps it, that is...
Alright, uh-oh.
First of all, the shift away from the Mercy meta will definitely favour Dallas. They are one of the teams that struggled the most with Mercy, and we've seen how strong the MV core were in the past with a more Lucio-centric meta. They've also acquired some new players that should help to plug some of the holes in their lineup. The most exciting of these being reported is Rascal coming over from the London Spitfire. With Rascal on Genji and Effect on Tracer, they potentially now have a very strong DPS duo. Then with XQC coming off suspension, they also have an aggressive Winston. So long as they can get their coordination together and XQC doesn't end up with another ban, they should have a very effective dive.
Casper tries for something cute, tries for a knockoff, but comes down by Drink Casper. But now Effect's going to go for the Deadeye, has shield protection. Oh! Finds Casper on the way down, and the Pharaoh is no more. And yet, the Uprising is still throwing themselves at Effect. He says, bring me another! Bring him another!
They also recently acquired AKM, a player mainly known for his Soldier 76, but who's also more than proficient as Farah and McCree. This is a strange signing for Fuel. Not that AKM isn't an amazing player, but with him and now Rascal, they have 5 DPS players. In comparison, most of the teams in the league didn't use more than 3 DPS players all stage, 2 being core and 1 being a specialist for certain maps or perhaps a certain hero like Farah. There is a lot of star potential there, but I don't know how much value they'll really be getting out of some of these players.
One out of the fire. Effect getting the kill there onto Kareev and a couple more. Man, I guess Effect just bragging out on this Sombra. You know, at the end of the day, sometimes Effect just carries. That's just how the world works.
I expect Taimu will move over to Roadhog and perhaps playing some other flex tank roles, which would help out as we might see a tank heavy meta also develop over Stage 2. Seagull is also in a weird position now, as Rascal plays a lot of the same heroes, and it would be really strange to pick up Rascal and not play him as a starter alongside Effect. How they balance having all these DPS on one team is going to be a challenge, as no one wants to be warming the bench all season. It's certainly possible that we see someone want to leave, or at least role changes for some of these players. However, with that said, Dallas now have pretty much all of the pieces needed to climb in Stage 2. If they can successfully integrate XQC with Effect and Rascal and sort out their target calling, they could have a very great dive composition, and they also have all the pieces for a solid triple or quad tank lineup. If they can finally sort out their coordination, I expect them to finish Stage 2 a few points higher in the standings, with potential to climb more in Stages 3 and 4.
Mendoza res one more time. He's low, he's down. Samuel, he drops a pulse bomb. There's a kill on the bird ring. There's a kill on a Nuss. And OT will soon start to tick quickly.
Let's jump right to the top of the leaderboard and take a look at New York. This is a team that did very well with the Mercy meta. Having Mercy support and damage boost Jonak on Zenyatta was a huge part of their success, as it gave them so much additional damage.
Tired, then check this out. Look at this reaction time.
Dealt with.
Fast.
Other things like those crazy McCree plays from Pine were often enabled by Mercy with damage boosts, and the revive potential if his flank went wrong.
Aggro on this McCree, he rolls in, somersaults in, that's another 3-kill life for Pine.
Okay, so in the span of 25 seconds, he gets the Deadeye!
They are also reportedly looking to sign a Lucio specialist. This is likely to help them adjust to the new meta and provide some additional insurance against illness amongst their support players. I fully expect this team to adapt to the new meta, but there is a possibility that they might not be quite as dominant in Stage 2 as the Gap Titans amongst the top teams.
See if they can. They're finding those early shots.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
That was a great flick from Undead.
No kidding.
Shanghai is right at the other end of the standings, without a single win to their name, but they have officially signed 4 new players that they hope will make a difference. 3 of these new players are Korean, namely Geguri, an off-tank player specialising in D.Va and Zarya, Fearless, who is a main tank who primarily plays Winston, and Ado, who is a flex DPS. The interesting thing about these signings is that they're all from different teams, so there's no natural synergy already there, and they will also have to learn Chinese for communication. They also signed the Chinese player Sky, who was previously known as Zufan Jun and is easily the most experienced of these new additions and the most straightforward to integrate. I think that all of these new players will likely be taking starting positions on the team, as they're all individually more skilled than the current players in their respective positions, at least on paper. However, don't expect them to be around for much of Stage 2, as they still need to sort out visas before coming to the US, and integration with the team will take some time. This is 100% an upgrade for Shanghai, but with the other teams at the bottom of the league also making arguably better upgrades, I don't know if this will be enough to help them climb, but I do think it will enable them to get a few upsets further down the line.
Some people for that late contest, it does prevent them from being bottled up in the castle like Florida was. They did get enough people out to protect the response.
Yes, yeah, definitely did.
Just above Shanghai is the Florida Mayhem, and this is one of the teams that made some of the biggest changes, going from Stage 1 into Stage 2. First of all, the Mercy meta wasn't great for them, and they'll be much happier with her god. Secondly, the team have also had very little support staff and coaching, but now they have recently added Meta Athena coach Ryder to the team. It also seems that he brought along some friends, as two of Meta Athena's players will also be joining the Mayhem, namely Sire Player, who has been previously described as the best hitscan DPS in Korea, and Awesome Guy, who is primarily known as a great aggressive Winston player.
Oh, another one on the Yaki. He is just waiting for him. He's like, you think you're trying to get me? Yaki hands off the keyboard. He's like, I don't know about this guy.
Now, on paper, this is a huge pickup, as you have two players who are great and already have chemistry together. However, they will have to deal with the language barrier in the predominantly Swedish Mayhem. They also picked up Zappis a few weeks back, and this is a great signing for them. He's reportedly joining as a flex tank, but is a very experienced player who will be bringing a lot of leadership to the team. How long it will be before the Korean players are seen in action is still unknown, but if they can be properly integrated into the team, and as most people are predicting, dive becomes a core part of the meta, then it's likely Florida will start to get some more wins under their belts, at least against teams in the bottom half of the league.
He's got no safe way to get out. This might be time for an EMP. He's thinking about it, and Boombox is going to be the first to fall. His shields are stripped away, and so is his health. Neptuno's second. Raucus has opened this fight up like a nice little oyster, and now they're enjoying the sweet insides.
The Outlaws were favoured by the Mercy meta, as they mainly ran an anti-dive composition, making a lot of use of Junkrat with a bit of Widowmaker as well.
On the point, trying to take it. There's a reload. Pine going high. Picked out of the air by Linkser, though. Man, I love this matchup.
Some concerns have been raised about how well they will adapt to the new meta, but I think they have most things well covered. We've seen them use Genji and Tracer combinations in the past, and they've had success with it, even if it didn't look as strong as they did with their more passive playstyles. I think this is a similar situation to New York. I don't really expect them to drop. However, their tried and tested strategies might not be as effective, so to stay at the top, they're probably going to have to mix up their tactics. They also recently signed Fact Fiction as essentially a backup main tank. The Outlaws are one of the teams that was hit hard with sickness in Stage 1, and they seem to be trying to make sure they won't run into trouble like that again. He's a great tank player who's already had experience with many members of the Outlaws, making this a perfect addition to the team. The San Francisco Shock are a team playing the long game. They have Super and Sinatra, who will both be turning 18 in March and will finally be able to play, but until these players are in action, I don't think they're going to be moving much in the standings. They recently picked up a new coach, which will probably help, and moving out of the Mercy meta will certainly make them more happy, but I can't see them making any big moves just yet. That's not to say this isn't a team worth watching, however, as your patience will likely start to pay off in stages 3 and 4 when they reach their final form.
San Francisco look to finish the round. Casper goes down. Sleepy picks him off. Very important. That was the way out of this situation for the Boston Uprising. But there's no easy road here, and no get out of jail free card. No, you do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Caught a dream Casper. This could be big though. He could actually drop down. Kelix caught out in the open. Bit of a dicey spot for him. And Birdring. Oh, going for the quick play! Stylen!
London have reportedly traded away 2 players so far, and at the moment haven't signed anyone else, but I wouldn't expect this to hurt them. Rascal was traded away simply because when Prophet and Birdring are your teammates, it's unlikely you're going to see much time on stage, and it really was a waste of his talents. It's very likely that Dallas paid a good sum of cash for him, and everyone comes out of this deal happy. They also traded away the main tank player Fisher to the LA Gladiators. He was in a similar situation to Rascal, as Gesture was never being subbed out, so he never got to play. Also reportedly, he had some social problems with the rest of the team.
Step with the Valiant and has a sideline and all the agilities. He cannot be doing that, it's too risky. Up in the air he pops. And down he comes there as well. Look at that, Unco tries to go for the Resurrect. Birdring is controlling this match. The Genji switch has not been enough to deal with it, but he's killed it another time! There's just no opportunity for the Valiant to get involved here. Birdring is deciding who does what, where, when, how, and why!
Neither of these changes will have an impact on London, and it's possible their slots might be filled soon. As for the meta changing, this will certainly favour London when they choose to run Dive, as without the Mercy there to res, they'll get a lot more value from it. It actually looked better playing the more passive Junkrat lineup, which was how they won the playoffs, but it's likely this was just due to the meta favouring that playstyle. I completely expect this team to stick around at the top of the leaderboard.
Cool man, the man himself, trying to protect, but now it's going to be the Dragonblade. Hydration finds one. Bunny down now. This is looking pretty nasty for the Houston Outlaws. Cool man about to get V-suited as well, and Hydration's got rule of the roost. Now the Transcendence comes in. Patience from Shaz to save the healing until this part of the fight, and Hydration just cleans them up.
The LA Gladiators reportedly picked up Fisher from London, which is a great addition and a big step up from Remix, who has been one of the weakest parts of their lineup in Stage 1. I still think they could do with some more players, firstly because it's just more options, but secondly and more importantly, it causes some healthy competition as everyone on the team looks to improve and get in the starting roster. Shawfall hasn't looked like the player he once was, and Asher has been inconsistent. The whole team have had good moments, but they've also been so inconsistent that it's held them back from being able to climb up the league. Their biggest strength in Stage 1 was their support line. Shaz and Big Goose are great and will likely improve outside of the Mercy meta. This team is potentially a dark horse in Stage 2, as if they could continue to play at their best, they could very well climb the standings. But if they continue to look shaky, I think they could easily fall, as some of the teams below them make improvements.
It's going to be hard to try and get a lot of value out of this ability.
Oh, that's a lot of damage from Jayhawk. Look at that! Picking Kellex out of the air in the Valkyrie.
Soul falling off hard in the later weeks of the league was a big surprise, and I think a lot of that was down to Mercy. Toby isn't great on her, and there were a lot of times that Jaehong even had to play her, meaning those big plays he normally makes as Ana and Zenyatta were gone. Now Toby will be back on Lucio, where he is one of the best in the world, and having Jaehong consistently on Ana and Zenyatta will also boost the team's potential. They have also reportedly picked up the support player Gambler, meaning that they now have enough players to do internal scrims against themselves.
Houston, despite losing Jake, that may be enough. Whoa, okay. And then Fleta shows up, and Fleta destroys everybody. That's four for Fleta.
Hopefully this will help one of their DPS players to catch up to the same level as Fleta, as right now the biggest thing they were really missing was another big threat to take some of the pressure off of Fleta. I fully expect Soul to stabilise in the new meta and be a contender for Stage 2 playoffs. And if they can get one of their other DPS onto the same level as Fleta, they will be a very hard team to beat.
Yeah, a lot of resources being put towards the pick, and Logic's of course on that Tracer. It's just not going to be enough. Fleta, it's 2 with 2 rockets. It just doesn't get any better than that.
Jump mine himself over.
Oh!
Okay.
Well, threading the needle is soon.
As of making this video, Valiant hasn't made any new signings. Personally, I had hoped they would get AKM and reunite him with his old teammates Soon and Unco, but that wasn't to be. It's certainly possible that we see them pick up someone, so keep an eye out for that, but this is a team I expect to improve with the meta change. They swapped around Mercy duty quite a bit, meaning that no one was particularly proficient on her. They also had a lot of player sickness, which potentially cost them a few map wins that would otherwise have seen them make the playoffs. The meta changing away from Mercy will certainly help them. They have a really strong dive that will only improve in effectiveness, and I also don't think they'll struggle in a tank meta. Envy, who is their main flex tank, is probably the most improved player in the entire league, so there is also certainly something to be said about their coaching being very effective. I think this is a team that's likely to come back strong in Stage 2 and contend for the top spots.
Nearly there with one of his own.
Oh, there we go. It's CC time. Frankie just swinging through. Oh, Poco!
The Philadelphia Fusion are a little bit unpredictable going into Stage 2. The Mercy meta didn't really hurt them, but it didn't really help them either. Their DPS line is amazing, Shadowburn and Carpe are a terrifying duo, and if they're given the chance, either of them can wipe out a team.
Shadowburn needs to have an amazing Dragon Blade. Here we go. Comes in, 5 King low. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3. Shadowburn going wild. Oh my.
Early on we saw Poco make a lot of big plays with his D.Va ultimate, but this has become less effective as time went on and teams became aware of what he was doing. So far, I've not seen anything to indicate that they will climb the rankings, but also nothing to suggest that they will fall, so I would expect them to hold steady in the middle of the pack. Their only real threats of falling come from teams like Dallas and the Mayhem getting the upsets thanks to their new roster changes.
Some way, it looks like
He fell into the pit.
I was going to say, fell into the pit here. Ooh, Carpe gets the counter snipe onto Baby Bay. Dak brings him up. Oh, and then Dak goes down.
Oh,
Carpe
no!
ready. Carpe totally going wild on this Widowmaker right now.
He's rear-ended into Duel, he's coming into a blaze of glory, but he puts himself in the most vulnerable position possible for a Farah, and no resurrect here. Verbo looks like he has a Valkyrie, there it is, it's coming in, but now Casper wants to get rid of him, swats him aside, a Duel gets taken down! I don't think I've seen that in a long time!
Boston were the most pleasant surprise of Stage 1, and they played amazingly. So far they haven't announced any new signings or trades, but this is a team to watch. They will definitely be having some great games with some of the top teams in the league and giving them a run for their money. The meta shift favours their aggressive dive, as well as Dream Casper's big plays, which while often amazing, were also often counteracted by Mercy's ultimate.
And Casper now has to give a lot of respect and a lot of distance to his assailants. He reflects though, that's nasty. Seagull gets a bit of a taste of his own medicine, and Coco struggling to find Casper. Is this man going to be able to do it on his own? He's found another one. Surely not. And no. Mickey now, he sees the HP on the Diva, he gets the D-suit. How is doing it all himself?
The only thing that could hold them back in Stage 2 is that now other teams know to look out for them. Previously, it was likely that teams were more focused on their other opponents for that week and not paying close enough attention to Boston. But now that we know they're a threat, we could see them countered more effectively as holes are revealed in their game. Overall, Stage 2 looks to be even closer than Stage 1. I'm excited to see if things start to turn around for the Fuel, Mayhem and Dragons, and how well they can integrate their new players. Who do you think will top the standings in Stage 2? Let me know in the comments below. As always, this is James for Curse, saying thanks for watching, and enjoy the game.